we want to get right into it with our first listener question, and this one involves the prior week in La Liga. Do you want to take the honors of asking the first question?
Yeah, well, basically, it's whether Barca deserved to win La Liga or not, and they did really, unfortunately. Barca were horrendous playing against the so-called minor teams. We've got defeats against Alaves, Deportivo, and Malaga, and those 9 points that slipped away cost us the title. Really, I know that a lot of people will argue that the referee mistakes against Betis, Malaga, and Villarreal played a big part, but ultimately, I don't believe in the excuse culture that some people tend to have, particularly in Catalonia these days. And although referees obviously did make mistakes, and they seem to be always favouring the same type of teams, which is Barca and Madrid, and in this case Madrid, I just don't believe that we can say that referees stole La Liga away from Barca. The team was just not regular enough. They played quite well against the so-called top teams, getting 10 wins and only 4 worse results against Atletico, Sevilla, Valencia, Real Sociedad, Villarreal, and obviously Real Madrid. But ultimately, we just didn't cut it when we had to, and the title went to Madrid fully deservedly.
Yeah, and see where I think it Barcelona, of course, should have. They had the team that should have been winning Liga again this year, but to me, Francis, I think it comes down to I don't want to view Barcelona not winning La Liga and seeing that as a triumph or failure based on Real Madrid's success, we'll say, in the Champions League. As in, if Real Madrid just wins La Liga and loses the Champions League, I think Barcelona fans, of course, feel like that's more of a victory. And I don't, it's very difficult, I think, for Cools to separate the success or failures of Barcelona with the success or failures of Real Madrid. They're so loosely tied, as in, if Real Madrid wins Champions League, then Barcelona should have won the Champions League. You know, it's just a matter of if Real Madrid were to get the double this year, I think that's what makes it feel like even more of a failure than, let's say, the year that Atletico Madrid won La Liga.
Yeah, and I think that Barca fans have to grow up in that respect. There's been too many years in which Barca have been looking at what Madrid have been doing, and ultimately that's a loser's mentality. What we need to do is concentrate on our own team. We need to make sure that we do our best in every competition, and don't worry about Madrid all the time. If we hadn't messed up in the away games in both the knockout stages in the Champions League, we probably would still be in it. And I don't really care if Madrid are winning or not. I worry about my team, and my team just didn't perform when they needed to.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it and it's such a slim margin, and I think that's the difficulty to it. Where when you're in the Bundesliga or you're in Serie A and you really just have Munich or Juventus, they do not necessarily coast to the title seemingly in the last 5-6 years, but they really do. But when it comes to Barcelona and Real Madrid, two of those other 5 or 6 elite clubs in the world, it just I think from an outsider's perspective, where again I'm not in Spain, so I'm not part of a Liga. La Liga isn't the number one thing where I am. So in the United States, so I'm not hearing that. They say that the Liga is too top heavy and this and this and this and that. But I think that adds some of the fight to it, where you have these two elite teams that you don't see two elite teams like that in Real Madrid, in Barcelona, in other leagues. I mean, not that the Premier League is lesser, because the Premier League, if anything, has more depth than the Liga does as far as quality of team-by-team basis. But as we've seen in La Liga, though, I mean, Malaga can get a result, Deportivo gets results, Celta Vigo. I think that people, they try to downplay that there is really no easy games in La Liga. They still, if you're Barcelona, Real Madrid, or Atletico, you're still getting every opponent's best effort every
Yeah,
single game.
that's right. La Liga is quite a competitive competition. I would say, in terms of differences between teams, probably the English Premier League is better in that respect because there's not that much of a difference. However, the difference that's in La Liga is because, as you said, the top 2 teams are probably the best 2 teams in the world in terms of budget, in terms of players. I mean, Barca.
Atletico is not bad either. Atletico Madrid, year after year.
Yeah, definitely. And Atletico, Valencia this year have been poorer, but normally Atletico, you've got Valencia, you've got even Real Sociedad sometimes, sort of trying to push the top teams. And let's not,
Bilbao.
yeah, Bilbao, and let's not forget that Sevilla have been doing really well throughout the season. Obviously,
Oh, two Europa Leagues over the last few years.
ultimately, what Sevilla lacked this year is depth. But if you think about January, February, there were people that were talking them up to challenge Madrid and Barca for the end of the season. So, the league has got two teams that obviously I would say are head and shoulders above the rest, and you can look at the reasoning behind it, which is the amount of money they get from TV and the huge fan base they've got within Spain and obviously worldwide. But I disagree with the fact that people that say that La Liga is not competitive. La Liga is very competitive, but there are two teams that are far better than the others.